Lil Spency, let it slap with the bass. What's up, my dudes? Boys, if I ever have a rap name, it's gonna have to be Lil Spency, dude. God dang. Okay. 450 Dyno Guide to MX Simulator. So one really big thing right off the bat, this is just from the time of making this video, okay? This is a very important thing here because we're probably going to get more dynos for this game in the future, so if you're watching this video, just really keep in mind when the video was actually uploaded, and that should give you a good idea because all this could change depending on what happens with the game in the future, but as of right now, this is the 450 dyno guide, so I know a lot of you guys are probably just clicking on this video because you just got into MX Sim and you're like, okay, what's the fastest 450 dyno? What's the best 450 dyno? So let me just get across that really quick. So your most popular 450 dynos in the game right now are your Honda and Husky 450 dynos. The 2018 CRF 450 and the Husky 450. I think the Husky 450 is a little more popular than the Honda 450 right now, the 2018 ones. And you also have a lot of people that still run the 2017 Husky 450 dyno, which is actually quite a bit different from the 2018 Husky in the game. And then you still have some people that run the 2016 KTM 450 dyno, okay? So that's about your most popular ones right there. If you run any of those dynos, you're definitely on some of the quote-unquote best dynos in the game, you know? I know a lot of people are just kind of wondering that right off the bat. So now that I got that out of the way, I can dig a little bit deeper because there's a lot more to this guide video right here. So I think with Erode being brought into the pro racing of the game, it's really thrown a wrench into all of the dynos and kind of what people think is the best dyno or not the best dyno. I really feel like the Erode system has sort of changed all of that. And that's why I ride different dynos depending on what kind of condition of track that I'm riding on, right? So, like if it's a tighter track, if you got the Erode turned on or off, if it's Supercross or Motocross, all that shit plays a part on which dyno I like to personally run. I know a lot of you guys think I'm still super stuck on the 2016 KTM 450 dyno. That was the by far best bike in the game back when it first came out, when you didn't have the 17s, you didn't have the newer 2018 bikes in the game. The like back would have been right around that like 2017, 2016 days. The 2016 KTM 450 dyno, every single person was running this bike in the game. Nowadays, everything's a little bit different because, like I say, introducing that Erode system has really changed everything about how much, like, you know, what kind of power curve you're trying to get out of the bike and how hard you want that power to hit. I feel like the Erode system has really changed that entire dynamic of the game because before Erode, really, you were just looking for the most acceleration you could get out of a bike, you know? It wasn't so much about the power curve itself pre-Erode. It was just more about which one has the most acceleration, which one has the most horsepower, you know? But nowadays, I feel like it's more important the actual power curve of it because what Erode does when it starts to get formed on a track, it just makes the track slicker. It's done that from the very beginning. The Erode just makes the track slicker. I know that's kind of hard to understand for some of you guys, but when you get that small, choppy, weird built Erode, you know, it's one thing if the Erode gets built like perfectly. If you know, every once in a while you'll get where you just got that perfect Erode setting with the perfect amount of riders and it'll build really good, smooth ruts that are not that hard to, you know, it doesn't really upset the bike very much when you go through it. But there's also a lot of other times where the Erode doesn't really develop quite that well, and I feel like you need a lot more like smooth of a power delivery. You need a lot more mellow of an actual power curve to the dyno of the bike. It just seems to benefit so much more on those eroded tracks or the really janky, you know, spliced out, all that like really, really janky erode, slicker erode. All of that just plays into needing more of a mellow power curve, more of a smoother power delivery, power curve type dyno. And I feel like that's really where all of this, like developing into the 2017 Husky 450 and then into the 2018 Husky and Honda dynos, those are really more of what I would call like Erode specific dynos in the game, because they're not just the most horsepower, they're definitely not the most acceleration bikes in the game, but they're probably some of the more smoother power curves and power delivery bikes in the game, in combination with that overall horsepower. You know, all of that kind of comes together to, I feel like the Husky 2017, 2018, and Honda 2018, those three different bike dynos in the game are going to be some of your best options when it comes to riding with a road turned on specifically, or terrain deformation turned on specifically. Those are going to be some of your better dynos. The Honda, the CRF 450 2018 is really smooth in this game. It's just got a very, very smooth kind of characteristic to it on MX Sim. Let me get on a different track here. But personally, I still love to ride the 2016 KTM, specifically on tracks that don't have a road turned on, right? So no erode, nothing like that. Like specifically going back to the 2017 style tracks, especially the tighter 2017 tracks. I feel like the 2016 KTM 450 dyno is still one of the most competitive dynos in the game, because it's got so much more of that initial acceleration, feeling to it. It may not have as smooth of a power band as like the Husky or the Honda, and it may not have as much like top end power as the Husky or the Honda, but as far as just that raw acceleration, horsepower, no erode, tighter Supercross tracks, I still love to ride the 2016 KTM, and I promise you I can still run very competitive lap times with this bike. Even though it's an older dyno, it's still very competitive on like the non-eroded 2017 style Supercross tracks. So I feel like we're really entering into that age to where it all just depends on what kind of track you're on, if you got the erode turned on or not, and that's really going to change whether or not you think one dyno is better than the other. Okay? And I think that's all playing a really big element into MX Simulator right now, because, when you get on those newer built around a road style tracks, they're so much smoother. The berms are so much more rolled off and smoothed off. You just need that like more consistent, smoother power delivery and power curve to the dyno. It just makes the bike a lot easier to control and handle and get through the erode, and you get those little spliced out little eroded ruts in the corners. A smoother power curve is just going to a smoother power delivery type dyno, one that's more, it doesn't really hit hard anywhere, like power-wise, it's just more smooth. That's just always naturally going to help you more in any kind of eroded situation. And that's what you got to understand. An eroded rut is completely different than a pre-made rut. An eroded rut, like I'm saying, it just seems to make the actual feeling of the dirt feel more slick. Like, I don't know what it is about MX Simulator that does that, but I'm telling you right now, you could have an eroded rut and a pre-made rut built damn near the exact same, and going across that eroded rut, you're going to have more of a smoother power curve than you would in that pre-made rut, even of the exact same size, because the Erode itself specifically makes the tracks feel more slick. Like going over that eroded spot on the track, you're going to lose more traction that way. Therefore, you need a smoother power delivery dyno. So that's what I'm saying. If you're riding on a track with Erode, I do not recommend riding the 2016 KTM 450 like I normally ride on like the 2017 no Erode style tracks. They're totally different. Now it's all in what kind of gearing you're running in combination with what kind of dyno you're running. All that shit plays a part in how much, how long your gears feel, the overall power curve of the bike and everything like that. It's all going to be heavily impacted by your gearing as well, but just in a general sense, when I get on some of the bigger tracks in 2017, when I say bigger, I mean like more higher speed style tracks, like your Las Vegas track where you got that outdoor, outside of the stadium area where you really need that top speed. And then obviously the Daytona, more of the motocross style track. See, those kind of tracks, I wouldn't necessarily recommend the 2016 KTM because you're just going to get more of a smoother power, more top-end style power, especially out of the 2017 Husky. That's kind of what everybody went to after the 2016 KTM. Everybody went to that 2017 Husky, and then because it was such a smooth power delivery, and it didn't feel like the 2017 Husky to me doesn't feel like it has quite as much like acceleration as the 2016 KTM, but it does feel like it's got more top end power than the 2016 KTM. Like that's why I would ride that 2017 Husky on more of your like longer straightaways, like a Las Vegas style track. You can always go in there and change your gearing up on even the KTM to get more power out of the top end, but you really got to learn how to play with the gearing to get the most out of whatever kind of dyno you're running. You know what I'm saying? So in a sense, it's like you could get a longer gear type gearing on the KTM and get a little bit more top end out of it, but why do that if you could just simply get that top end out of having like the 2017 Husky dyno that already has more top end speed built into it just in the dyno itself with that particular power curve? Do you see what I'm saying? So in a nutshell, to kind of wrap all this up a little bit here, the 2016 KTM 450 I feel like is one of the most acceleration, hard-hitting, bottom-end power bikes in the game still to this day. Still to this day, I feel like it's that way. It may not have as much overall horsepower as some of the newer dynos, but as far as just that bottom-end Supercross power hit delivery, I still feel like the 2016 KTM is one of the best bikes for that particular situation, like no Erode, tight, Supercross style track in the game where you're just needing a shitload of that acceleration like you're hitting the damn NOS button, bro. I would recommend the 2016 KTM 450. Now, you work yourself up from that and you go to the Husky 2017, you're going to get a lot broader of a power curve. It's like it's smoother, it's more broad. You're not going to have to shift as fast on the 2017 Husky. You're going to get a little more top end out of the 2017 Husky. It does have a little bit of a different of a like ergonomics kind of feeling to the 17 Husky. It can kind of feel a little bit quote unquote heavy at times. But it is a very smooth power delivery, and I've gotten some wicked fast lap times on that 2017 Husky, and I've also gotten some wicked fast lap times on the 2016 KTM as well. But once you start introducing that Erode into the game, I feel like it really makes the 2016 KTM basically obsolete because you're just going to slide more in the corners. You're going to slide more in those eroded ruts. It's going to be a lot harder when the track gets all chewed up and fucked up at the end of a main event with the road turned on. You're kind of going to get screwed on the 2016 KTM because you're just going to start sliding everywhere. You're not going to have smooth enough of a power delivery to get through those janky-ass eroded ruts in the game. So that once you kind of get into that really hardcore erode pro racing, then it starts to develop more into like the 2017 Husky, 2018 Husky, 2018 Honda. You know, it starts getting into more of those smoother power delivery, smoother bikes in the game, smoother feeling bikes in the game. Like I'm saying, the CRF 2018 450 is one of the smoothest bikes and the smoothest dynos in the entire game, but it still has good enough of a overall horsepower to keep up with some of the other bikes in the game. So I think there is, you know, obviously an element of personal preference here as well on top of everything else, but yeah, so if you're one of those kind of dudes that really loves the smooth feeling, I recommend the 2018 CRF 450. If you're a guy that likes a little bit of a longer gear feeling, more of a top end kind of feeling, top speed kind of feeling to the bike, I recommend the 2017 Husky. If you're a guy that likes that hard hitting bottom end power, just wicked hit the NOS button kind of power, I recommend the 2016 KTM. Of course, the gearing that you run is going to heavily affect, like I say, it's going to heavily affect everything about all of this. So, you know, I run like 2 or 3 different kind of gearings in the game, and I've ran all of those different kind of gearings with all these different kind of dynos multiple different times in multiple different pro racing scenarios and situations and different levels of erode. And, you know, I've done quite the extensive amount of testing with all this, and I personally like to ride that 16 KTM when there's no erode, more of your old school style track design, you know, especially on the tighter Supercross tracks where you need that bottom end horsepower just right out of the bottom end. But then when you start going to like a Daytona or a Vegas or something like that with the longer straightaways and everything, I like to get a little bit more top end out of the bike with like the 2017 Husky. Then when you start working in with the newer RF track designs with the road, or you start getting into motocross or whatever, then I would start working into like the 2018 Husky, the 2018 Honda. But you can still run the 17 Husky. I feel like it's a little bit better in outdoors. The 2017 one is, because like I say, those little bit of longer gears, more top speed to the bike just in general to the bike's dyno. I feel like all that kind of plays a part and makes that 17 Husky feel really good on a motocross track, on outdoors. But the Honda 18 450 also feels good on outdoors because it's so smooth that it feels like it kind of absorbs those braking bumps and roughness pretty good. It just has a smooth feeling to it. I don't know any other way to explain the 2018 Honda, but that's about your general rundown. I know the 2018 Husky is probably the most popular bike right now in the pro racing. They've kind of went back and forth from the 18 Honda to the 18 Husky to the 17 Husky. Nobody really rides the 16 KTM and the modern day RF pro racing anymore. Like I say, a big reason for that is because of erode and them making the tracks really smooth and not really having berms and, you know what I mean? That slicker erode feeling. It's just, you got to have more of a smoother power delivery, power curve. You can actually go look up, I'm pretty sure all of the dynos on MX Simulator, all of the different bikes in the game are actually based around the real life bike dynos. Of course, when you go from real life to a video game, the translation, everything's going to kind of not necessarily perfectly translate from real life to the video game, but in a nutshell, JLV tries to base the dynos off of the actual real life bike dynos, right? So, you know, that's just something to keep in mind. I do think you can, like, if you go look at whatever 2018, 2019 bike dyno chart or whatever, you can go to those different dyno charts, and that can kind of give you a bit of a look at like what the power curve looks like. And I'm talking about looking at the real life 2018 450 dirt bike dyno maps or whatever they call it, dyno chart or whatever, right? You can literally go look that up on Google, and that'll give you a good idea of the power curve, the delivery of the power, where you're going to get the most power depending on the RPMs, you know, compared to like the Husky, compared to the Honda, compared to the Yamaha dyno, compared to the 2016 KTM dyno. I mean, you can go in there and compare all this shit. Like I say, there is a little bit of a difference with translating from real life to a video game, but still, nonetheless, going and looking at those real life dyno charts can really give you more of a actual like mathematical look at everything with you know, the power delivery, power curve, where you want the power, the you know, the overall horsepower of the bike, basically everything. You can go look at that. So that's another big tip right there if you're still kind of, you know, curious about which one does what and that kind of shit. For the most part, I think you can go look at all those real life bike dyno charts from 2016 to 2018 to all the different bike dynos on MX Sim, and it'll give you a pretty good idea on it. So either way, guys, hope you learned something in this video. I try to help you guys out the most I can with MX Sim, just some of the shit I've learned. But it is all very personal preference. You get in these kind of games and man, you can still go fast on even none of these dynos that I've mentioned. You can still go fast in this game. You know what I'm saying? You do not have to ride these bikes. These are just some of the more competitive ones in the game, but you can still go in there and be fast as fuck on like a 2018 Yamaha or I don't know, a 2016 Suzuki or what the fuck ever. You can still be very competitive. But like for instance on these let me kind of show you something right here. I've noticed on some of the 2017 tracks, it can be a little bit tricky. See, this is why I don't necessarily prefer a lot of the newer, more like mellow power delivery, the smoother power curve bikes. A lot of times I don't really prefer those on the 2017 style tracks because sometimes there's these specific bigger quad lines that you really need that bottom end kind of just ripping raw, you know, bottom end horsepower, that real hit to the power curve. You know what I'm saying? That 2016 KTM really has that hit to that power curve, and I feel like that helps you a lot on specific transitions before quad jumps on the 2017 Supercross tracks. Especially on the tighter tracks, whereas I feel like if you get too mellow of a power delivery, like on some of the newer dynos, it can be a little bit harder to actually get the bike to get enough, you know, enough of that hit to the power delivery right where it needs it to be able to jump up some of those quad jumps. So that's just something I've kind of noticed with the 2016 KTM. It does feel like it's a little bit easier to hit some of the bigger quad jumps on this bike in the 2017 days. But like I say, it's not worth riding on this bike when you're riding on a road because you got to have more of a smoother power delivery with the road when you're riding on a road in the game. So it's all just in kind of what you're riding on, what personally fits you the best. Obviously, a smoother power curve is going to feel better to a beginner player than a hard-hitting, bottom-end hitting kind of power feel. I like this 2016 KTM because I like to rip that fucking throttle. You know what I mean? I like to shift fast. I like to have the bike in a high gear over the whoops and shit like that. So, for me personally, a quicker hitting power delivery, higher RPM feeling, shorter gear feeling bike just feels better and fits my own personal riding style in the game on like a non-eroded Supercross track in the game. But you start getting that erode on a track or you start getting on a motocross track, and I feel like a lot of those smoother hitting power delivery bikes like the 2017 Husky or the 18 Husky or Honda, they just feel better on those kind of conditions because you need a smoother power delivery and longer gears. But on a tighter, no eroded Supercross track, I tell you what, brother, that 2016 KTM is still bad to the bone, man. I mean, I can still run fucking super competitive lap times on this bike on tighter, you know, Supercross tracks that don't have a road on them. So it's all in what you're riding on. You know what I mean, Doug? It really is all. There's so many different ways to play this game now. So many different kinds of tracks, longer style sections, a road turned on or off. You know, quad jumps, no quad jumps. All that shit plays a little part in what dyno I would recommend. So hopefully this video's helped you guys out a little bit. But still, at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer in run whatever you think is the best. You know, whatever fits your riding style the best, run it. I don't give a shit what that is. I don't care what setup it is that you're running. I don't care what gearing it is that you're running. I don't care what dyno it is that you're running. If it feels better to you, if it feels like it's making you faster in the game and making you possibly go faster or feel more comfortable, therefore going faster, then fucking run it. And don't listen to anybody that tries to tell you that you can't run that or you're not going to go as fast as with that or whatever. Don't listen to them, man. Just, there's so many ways to play these simulators. Whatever you feel is the best for you at your current skill level and what feels the best to you, fucking run it, dude. That's my advice. You know, if something feels like it's got too much power, don't run it. You know, if a dyno feels like it's got too much bottom end power for you, don't run it or change your gearing or do something else, you know. If you want a little more bottom end hitting power, don't feel like you're forced to ride those super mellow dynoed bikes. Run whatever the fuck you think makes you feel better / makes you faster in the game. That's my advice at the end of the day. So, nonetheless, man, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. I'll see you boys on that next one. Later, dudes.